I'm trying to figure out if this is the worst book I've ever read. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. A long time no see. Here's the deal. I just finished a book like 5 minutes ago. We need to talk. Okay, so I've been in a bit of a reading slump. Like, I've tried to read 3 different books and I had to stop reading the first 2 entirely because they just weren't grabbing me. I don't want to say that they're boring, but for some reason I couldn't get involved. So when I started reading the 3rd one, which is something that I really wanted to read, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it, but I forced myself to power through it because I thought you cannot pick up 3 different books and not finish one of them. So I finished it about 5 minutes ago. And so this is a completely off-the-cuff review that I have not prepared. I literally just finished the book. And I cannot even believe what I just read. So you may recognize this book from my book outlet haul. It is Midnight by Kevin Egan. And the premise of the story is that the rule is if a judge dies, his staff can continue to work for the remainder of the calendar year. So a judge dies on December 31st and his employees try to keep it a secret until after midnight so that they don't immediately lose their jobs but can instead work for an entire year. Like, I thought this would be exciting and, you know, action driven, and some more specifics on the premise. Tom and Carol are Judge Cantor's employees. Tom is his law clerk, Carol is his secretary. I mean, the judge dies right away. There's no drawing that out. The judge dies in his chambers. And so when Carol and Tom discover him, it's Tom's brilliant idea to try to hide it. Background is that Tom is a gambling addict and owes $8,000 to a loan shark. Carol is a single mother who has a son with hearing problems and a mother who's got 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot on a banana peel. And so those 2 people in Carol's life rely heavily on her. That's basically why Tom can convince her to do the most stupid and ridiculous thing ever. So I'm just gonna throw it out there. Tom is a scumbag. He's an absolute scumbag, okay? So he's got this gambling addiction, but even if I could sympathize with him for that, he's a shit. He's selfish and you know, not at all interesting. And yet Carol's dumbass is really just enamored with Tom. Like, half of her wants to provide for her family, but the other half of her wants, I think, to impress him and wants them to be together. And he's terrible. He's garbage. Like, quit it. Now, I mistakenly thought that there would be more people involved in this plot, or that the people involved in the plot would be semi-likable, or that, you know, there would be drama. The things that they did to try to hide the judge's death were not unexpected things. They're things that I would have expected, but I would have expected like 6 people to be trying to do this, not Tom and Carol. I mean, they move his body and they sneak it out of a courthouse. Like, no, no, stop. Like, you're gonna roll a judge up into a rug and sneak him out of a federal building and get him across town and up to his apartment. Like, it just, no. So I had issues there. Number 1, okay, so here we go. Number 1, I didn't like the characters. Number 2, their plan was completely unrealistic for the amount of people involved. There's no way that two people, a law clerk and a secretary, could have pulled off this plan. I mean, in the middle of like rolling the judge over every 2 hours so that his blood doesn't pool in a certain area of his body and give away time of death, they're hooking up. Like, this is, they're hooking up. They're doing the deed in the dead judge's apartment with the dead judge on the other side of the wall. I wish that was all my imagination, but it's not. It happened. It happened in this book. When I knew that I didn't like these people, and I knew that this was not the book that I anticipated, I should have stopped. I should have stopped, but I didn't. I kept reading, and I kept getting more and more angry. Opportunistic bastard that Tom is, he sees opportunity knocking with the judge's death because he has the ability to rewrite some of the decisions that the judge made prior to his death. And he's got this $8,000 gambling debt that he needs to pay off, or he's going to get, put through a blender or something. Something cliche like that. So he strikes a deal to rewrite a judge's decision for part of what he owes. And after striking that deal, he lets them in on the big secret that the judge is dead, and then guess what? They double cross him. And they say, we're not paying you anything. We're gonna keep you out of jail. That's your payment. We will not rat you out. That's your payment. Now rewrite my decision. So he strikes another deal with another douchey guy to rewrite that decision. So basically, Tom's playing all angles here, and Carol's like, la 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 la, she has no idea, and he's lying at every turn to her, this woman that he's supposed to be starting this relationship with. He's lying to her about everything, and he's just a total scum. Like, I can't, The judge had a bit of a thing for Carol, and tried to help her out, like paid for her some college classes, and knew that her son needed new hearing aids. So the judge, before his death, wrote Carol a check for $3,000 so that her son, her adolescent son, could get new hearing aids. And Tom knows this, and half of the book, Tom is tempted to ask Carol for that $3,000. Like, he's tempted to ask the woman that he just initiated an intimate relationship with to give him the $3,000 for her child's hearing aids so that he doesn't get the crap kicked out of him by the loan shark. And I'm supposed to like this guy? I'm not entirely sure who the protagonist of this book is, to be honest with you. Is it Carol? Because she's almost too dumb to like. Is it Tom? Because he's a scumbag. Is it Fox, Carol's ex-boyfriend, who also works in the courthouse, who, sticks his nose in to everything? And, like, who's the protagonist here? I don't know. The judge is the protagonist, and he's dead by page 20. They're weaving this tangled web, only Carol doesn't even know she's weaving it because Tom's lying to her about everything. So Carol thinks all of this stuff is happening to them unfoundedly. I'm not sure if that's a word. Carol even begins to suspect him for having a part in all of this terrible stuff, all of these people coming after them, all of these people blackmailing them and forcing them to do things they don't want to do. She begins to suspect that this is all Tom's fault. Close to the end, after Carol has confronted Tom and he has lied to her up to the very last minute, lied to her to the point that they're about to die, then he's like, oh, by the way, I've got some stuff to tell you. I don't know how all my other girls all my other ladies out there would react to some shit like that. But you get no sympathy. If you lie to me 50 times and on the 51st time you decide to tell me the truth, yeah, you've already blown it. But instead, Tom comes clean while they basically have guns to their head and says, you know, the best day of my life was dinner at your house. And she says, even with my ex-boyfriend Fox there? And he says, even with your ex-boyfriend Fox there. So Carol says to him, I'm sorry too. For being a bitch. Being self-centered when I should have understood that whatever you were doing was for a good reason. It gets better. Then Carol says, I could have helped you. There was that money the judge gave me. And Tom's all like, you don't know how many times I almost asked you for it. And she says, why didn't you? And he says, it wasn't enough. He didn't ask her for her son's hearing aid money because it wasn't enough money. Never mind that her son is putting duct taped hearing aids into his ears. It wasn't enough money. That's his reason. Carol's response, the mother's response, I would have given it to you. What? You would have given it to him? This story does not take place on the planet Earth. It just doesn't. It does not. This Joker lied to you over and over and over again. And he says he's sorry. And all you're thinking about is how you should have not provided for your child and instead fixed his gambling debt. I'm glad I got almost to the end before I read some truly stupid shit like that, or it would have been over. It would have been over. How do you go from a story that begins in the judge's chambers of a New York County courthouse to the woods where you're about to be eaten by coyotes? I skipped a part, right? I must have skipped a part. What shit can I throw into a 320-page book? Courtroom drama, death, sex, disabled child, elderly woman, loan shark, union president, Chinatown, woods, cliffs, coyotes, ex-boyfriend drama, all rolled around New Year's Eve. Like, that's just the problems that I have with the story. This book was written, I don't know a lot about the author. His name is Kevin Egan. Based on his little blurb, his little thing, I know that he did receive a degree in English from Cornell, but it says he is a self-described non-practicing attorney who has spent his entire legal career working in the New York State court system, including lengthy stints as a law clerk. So his BA in English, I don't know. I could Google this, but I don't feel like it. This book feels like it was written by a lawyer. Not awful. He's not a horrible writer. It's just not about the writing. It's not about the language. This book is very much plot driven, regardless of whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. When I saw this book and read the blurb, I was really excited. This book leapt over my current TBR pile in order to be read. After I had disappointing starts with 2 other books, I Am Legend being one of those, don't even get me started, I literally wanted to sit down and read something that I was excited about because I really thought it would be a good story. And here we are, 2 days later, and I'm ranting on BookTube. If you've read Midnight or heard about the book or heard about the author or know anything that might make me feel better about book life right now, leave thoughts and comments for me below. I am moving on to something that cannot possibly disappoint me as much. So that's me looking on the bright side. Sorry for the rant video, but hopefully it was fun. Hopefully you found at least a little bit of humor in it. If you like this video, I don't know why you would, but if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. I don't rant about books very often. This is only the second one since being on BookTube, Hater being the other. If you want to know why that book pissed me off, I will leave that video linked for you. Thanks for watching, you guys. I will see you soon.